architecture.
All right, we're going to cross over live to an event that's going to be taking place right here in Tehran, where the president of Iran, Dr. Hassan Rouhani, will be speaking about the deal which has just been signed in Geneva. He is just preparing to speak. Let's listen in to what he has to say.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
In the name of God, the All-Merciful, the All-Compassionate, I'm very pleased to present a brief report to the Iranian nation in connection with continued efforts by the diplomatic team and those who have been shouldering the responsibility of the nuclear negotiations. These efforts have reflected the glory and dignity of the Iranian nation. The Iranian nation, in the course of history, has always enjoyed grandeur and pride that has attracted the attention of the world people. In the course of these negotiations, the world came to this very conclusion and feeling that respecting the Iranian nation will bring about a positive result, and threats cannot be, and the threats cannot bear any fruits. The second point is that the government of hope and prudence seeks to create an atmosphere of trust between the Islamic Republic of Iran and countries that are interested in having friendly relations with this great nation in order to create trust with respect to the negative propaganda. They had created an image aimed at spreading Iranophobia amongst the public opinion. The logical negotiations and argumentations by the Iranian diplomatic team, along with hundreds of others of political negotiations, created the atmosphere so as to create the right path towards confidence and trust. As it has been said, trust is a two-way path, and in fact, we should be also able to reach the point of trust with respect to other countries. And of course, there's a long way ahead in order to attain that full trust, but the initial steps have been taken in this regard. And the third point is the issue of interaction with the world. Constructive interaction with the world is the motto of this government, and such a constructive interaction can be achieved through trust. And the initial steps have been taken for this purpose. Since the very first days of its operation, the government, in addition to economic, social, and political activities, it has also started its activities in the field of foreign policy, and particularly since the start of autumn, the trips by political officials to Bishkek in August, and also the trip to New York in September, and the commencement of 5+1 negotiations with Iran at the ministerial level as the first step in New York and later in Geneva. The outcome of these negotiations is that the 5+1, or in other words, the world powers have recognized Iran's nuclear rights. The Islamic Republic of Iran innately enjoys this right, and this right has been granted to all the signatories by the NPT, and for this reason, more than 40 countries in the world carry out enrichment programs within the NPT, and on this basis, the IAEA monitors the performance of most countries who produce nuclear fuel. At the same time, the acknowledgement by world powers concerning this right and the elimination of obstacles in the face of the Iranian nation is of great value. The second achievement is the enrichment right by the Iranian nation on the Iranian soil. Whatever interpretation, this right has been explicitly stipulated by this agreement, stressing that Iran will go on with its enrichment program. And for this reason, I announced to the Iranian nation that Iran's enrichment activities will proceed similar to the past, as in the past, and during the 6 months of the agreement, Natanz, Fordo, and Arak, and Isfahan, and Bandar Abbas facilities will continue their activities. And speaking of the third achievement of this agreement, is this very point that the world powers have announced that with the termination of the comprehensive talks, which will start from now on, and the attainment of the comprehensive agreement, all sanctions will be lifted. The UN sanctions, the unilateral sanctions by the EU or the US, it has been announced within this agreement that all sanctions will be lifted step by step with the continuation of talks. And this is another point that has been envisaged by this agreement. The fourth point is that the sanctions organization will be defeated and crushed, whether others like it or not. In fact, since last night, the sanctions have started to and rifts have been created as far as the sanctions are concerned. So some of the sanctions will be lifted with the implementation of the agreement. The sanctions that were supposed to be intensified, they're going to stop. And some of the sanctions related to the banking sector will be lifted, and these 6 months mark a starting point for a new experience for the Iranian nation. If the 5+1 side fulfills its commitments Iran will also fulfill its commitments and act on the basis of the agreement, and this will lead to the holding of the final comprehensive negotiations, and it's going to be, and this is the initial agreement, in nuclear agreement, and we are pleased that after 10 years an agreement has been reached at this level, even though it is an initial one for a period of 6 months. And the agreement has been reached between Iran and the world powers. And talks about the comprehensive agreement will immediately start. And these negotiations can be the final negotiations. There's a strong will on the Iranian side for the commencement of these negotiations. And hopefully the other party would also enjoy such a serious and honest will when there is mutual respect, when there are reciprocal interests, and when we speak to each other based on equal footing, there will be a movement forward. We'll be able to move forward, and hopefully we'll be able to proceed with negotiations on the basis of these principles. Once again, I would like to repeat that the Iranian nation does not seek nuclear weapons. And after the comprehensive talks and the final agreement, a year from now, no one should say that we hampered, and no one should claim that we hampered the attainment of nuclear weapons. And this is going to be a joke, a historical joke. Iran has never sought to attain nuclear weapons. This is not something expressed by me, and every time the IAEA had extensive inspections, the agency said that Iran's nuclear activities have had no diversion, and this means that Iran has never and will never seek nuclear weapons. And in fact, they should know that Iran never seeks nuclear weapons, and if any party seeks to hamper Iran's development, that's going to be not possible. The nuclear technology has been localized and indigenized, is for Iran's development, and the nuclear technology has been attained and acquired with the efforts made by the Iranian young people and scholars and university professors, and such a trend has continued and has bore fruits, and such a trend is going to continue in the future, and we are prepared to cooperate with the world and the IAEA in this regard in order to fully eliminate ambiguities that have been created. I deem it necessary to mention that the success that have been attained so far is due to the guidelines offered by the leader of the Islamic Revolution, and also the full support extended by the Iranian nation, and also the efforts made by the diplomats who shouldered the negotiations, and also other organizations such as the Supreme National Security Council and the Parliament, and all the organs who helped the government, and hopefully their assistance will continue. I also wish to commemorate the late Imam, and by following his path, our nation tread the path of resistance and independence, and they learned how to tread this path, and I also wish to appreciate the guidelines offered by the leader of the Islamic Revolution, and his guidelines have been a source of enlightenment for all of us. And allow me to commemorate all the martyrs and pay tribute to their families, and also let me pay tribute to our nuclear martyrs that through their efforts they even dedicated their lives for the sake of the progress of nuclear technology reaching the point of perfection. And today we can say that Iran is among countries that enjoys nuclear technology and enrichment technology, and such technology will continue to grow in different sectors, in different peaceful nuclear sectors. And with the efforts of the Atomic Energy Organization and the head of this organization and all the thinkers and scientists hopefully will be able to continue following this path. And as soon as the nuclear negotiating team returns to Iran, they will further elaborate on this issue and provide you with further details.
All right, well, that was the president of Iran, Hassan Rouhani, speaking there live right here in Tehran about the deal that has been signed between the P5+1 group and Iran in Geneva. He said the efforts of the Iranian diplomats have echoed the dignity of the Iranian nation. He said Iran has always enjoyed grandeur and pride that has gained the respect of the world. He said the world has realized that respecting the Iranian nation will bear positive fruits. He said the government is trying to increase the trust between the Islamic Republic and nations interested in fixing relations with it. He said with their negative propaganda, they have spread Iranophobia, and hopefully that will change. He said diplomats, the Iranian diplomats that is, have created the atmosphere, setting the right path towards building confidence and trust. He said confidence building, though, is a two-way path, and that there is a long way ahead to attain full trust of Iranians towards other nations. He said constructive interaction with the world can be achieved through trust, and the first steps have been taken towards that goal. He said the outcome of these negotiations is that the P5+1, or world powers, as he called them, have recognized Iran's nuclear rights. He said the Islamic Republic innately enjoys this right under the NPT. He said the acknowledgement of the world powers of this is of great value. He said the enrichment right of the Iranian nation on its soil has also been recognized. He said whatever the interpretation is, this right has been stipulated under this deal, and the enrichment activities will continue similar to the past. He said world powers have announced that with the comprehensive talks, which will begin soon, more sanctions will be slowly lifted, be they by the EU or the US. He said cranks in the sanctions regime begun last night, and he said these 6 months begin a new experience for the Iranian nation. He said the P5+1 fulfilling its side of the deal will result in Iran doing so as well. He said even though this is an initial agreement, that Iran is pleased with the deal. He said the Iranian side still has the strong will to immediately start negotiations towards a comprehensive deal based on equal footing and respect. He said Iran has never sought nuclear weapons, repeating himself, and he said no one should claim that they have thwarted such an effort. He said any party that wishes to hamper Iran's progress should know that that is not possible. He said that Iran, again, is prepared to remove any ambiguities that may still exist. Towards the end, then, he spoke about the success that was attained was because of the guidelines of Ayatollah Khamenei, the leader of the Islamic Revolution, and he said his guidelines have been a source of enlightenment for the nation. He also spoke of the support of the Iranian nation and the efforts of diplomats as well as other organizations. He also honored Imam Khomeini, through whom Iran has tread this path of resistance, and he also paid tribute at the end to nuclear martyrs who gave their lives for the progress of the Iranian nation. And at the end there, he said Iran will progress by using peaceful nuclear technology going forward in various spheres. Again, that was the president of Iran, Hassan Rouhani, speaking there live right here in Tehran. No doubt we will have further analysis on his comments later on. Stay tuned for that.